Nigeria, so Nigeria won't die. Which way Nigeria? Which way? Which way Nigeria? Tell me which way to go. I love my fatherland. Oh yeah, I want to know. Yes, I want to know which way Nigeria is heading to. Every little thing that.
Which way Nigeria? Which way Nigeria? Like I've always said, whenever I listen to the legendary Sonny Okosu music, it reminds me of the good old days in Nigeria.
Which way Nigeria?
And at the time Sonny Okosu sang Which Way Nigeria, I can tell you categorically, putting into consideration my age, what I'm exposed to, my education, and what at least my parents are able to tell me. I can tell you that as at that time, yes, it's released this album, Nigeria was still on the right settings, on the right footing then.
Corruption here.
As at then, the issue of religiosity, ethnicity, and political diversity has not eaten this deep into the fabrics of the Nigerian people.
Which way Nigeria? Which way Nigeria?
Well, it is what it is. Yes, where we find ourselves. We just have to make do of what we have in the Nigerian system now. But of course, the question is this: can Nigeria still progress beyond where it is now? I can tell you the answer is yes.
During the oil boom, not knowing that.
The answer is yes if only everybody is ready to play his or her own part in making Nigeria a better place again for everyone to stay.
Nigeria, so Nigeria.
It is on this note that I welcome you to one of the most informative, educative, and your analytical program on your radio frequency, iPower 102.7 FM, transmitting live from Emurele here in our local government area.
Yes, I want to know which way Nigeria is heading to.
Your program, Echo of the Past, is a unique program that takes listeners beyond newspapers, headlines, and calendar days to the very heartbeat of history itself.
Have enough food to show. Let's say.
It explores the events, decisions, personalities, and circumstances that have shaped and continue to shape the Nigerian nation.
Which way Nigeria?
Through detailed analysis and historical perspective, the program examines issues affecting Nigeria politically, religiously, ethnic, economic, and its social landscape.
Our ambition.
It also places under the spotlight the ideals, challenges, fragility, and sustainability of the Nigerian enduring slogan, Unity in Diversity.
Oh, let's save Nigeria.
Beyond historical analysis, Echo of the Past provides an interactive platform where listeners can actively participate. The program features a feedback segment during which listeners are invited to call in and share their views, opinions, observation, and contribution on topical issues ranging from politics, the economy, religion, security, entertainment, and other matters of public interest.
The beginning of a million miles.
On that note, I warmly welcome you on board today on the edition of Echo of the Past. My name is Akin Adebayo, popularly known as the Echo Man. To be back in a moment, please don't change the dial.
Which way Nigeria? Which way Nigeria? Which way to go? Which way to go? I love my fatherland. Oh, sure. I want to know. Yes, I want.
Welcome back. It's still Echo of the Past on your darling station, iPower 102.7 FM, Emurele. Today, we shall be examining the topic of significant historical and contemporary relevance, and that is how geography shaped the Nigerian community. How geography shaped the Nigerian community. As we all know, there are so many geographical locations that are actually shaping the Nigerian community. Is it economically? Is it when it comes to maybe religion? Of course, religion plays a vital part. Take for instance, we cannot compare the rate at which Islam had a strong hold in northern Nigeria to how it's having its hold in southern Nigeria, simply because the northern part of Nigeria is more closer to the northern part of Africa, whereby, we have so many, Islamic nations there. Is it Niger? Is it Chad? And I just name the host of others. Now, can you compare it now to how religions take its hold in southern Nigeria? Geography actually determines all these things. Like here in Ondo State, we all know that we are having about two major, I won't say two major ethnic groups rather, no, but we are having so many ethnic groups in Ondo State. But of course, as we all know, the Jaw, for instance, the Zone, and they are more associated with the Bayelsa, the Niger Delta. But we have them here in Ondo State as well. Where they into fishing is because of the location they find themselves. That is the waterside area. And while in Akoko, as we all know, Akoko is, not just Akoko anyway. I'm talking about apart from that riverine area which they deal with farming and fishing and what have you. But aside from that, from Okitupa down to maybe the north, Ondo Central and on the north, they are basically into farming, not fishing, compared to what is obtainable in southern Nigeria. How did we arrive at this? It's because of their geographical location.
It's ruining the country now.
Well, as always, we shall trace its origin, examine its development over time, and analyze its impact on our society today.
So Nigeria.
On this note, we encourage you to stay tuned and participate during our feedback segment, where your opinions and contribution will enrich the discussion.
Which way to go? I love Nigeria. Which way Nigeria? Tell me which way to go? Which way to go? I love my fatherland. Oh yeah. I want to know which way Nigeria.
When we speak about the history of Nigeria, we often focus on kingdoms, wars, migration, colonialism, trade and religion, and politics. Yet, beneath all these factors lies one powerful and sometimes overlooked factor: geography. Geography. Long before the name Nigeria appeared on the political map, the territory was already home to diverse communities whose ways of life were strongly influenced by their physical environment. Mountains, rivers, forests, savannas, fertile plain, desert, coastlines, and climatic conditions help determine where people settled, what they produce, what they ate, how they traveled, whom they trade with, and in many cases, how their political institutions developed. Nigerian geographical diversity, therefore, did not merely provide a background to history. It actively participated in making that history. The communities that emerged in the forest of the south were not shaped by exactly the same circumstances as communities living in the northern savannah. People along the Niger and Benue River developed relationships with waterways that are different from those of communities in dry Sahel zones. Coastal communities develop maritime and commercial connection, while communities in the interior often depend heavily on agriculture, pastoralism, and long-distance caravan trade. Understanding Nigeria's history, therefore, requires us to make a fundamental question: how did the land itself shape the people who inhabited it? I'll ask that again. Understanding Nigerian history, therefore, requires us to make a fundamental question: how did the land itself shape the people who inhabited in it? Geography before Nigeria. It is important to remember that the modern Nigerian state is relatively recent. The communities that now constitute Nigeria existed for centuries before the colonial creation of the Nigerian state. They developed their own political system, economies, cultures, and identities according to their circumstances. There are powerful states and societies such as Kanem Borno, the Hausa City State, the Sokoto Caliphate, and the Oyo Empire, Benin Kingdom, Ife, Nupe, Igbo Community, Jukun State, the Niger Delta societies, and numerous other communities and kingdoms. The development was influenced by geography. Geography did not determine everything. Human creativity, leadership, migration, warfare, technology, religion, and trade were equally important, but geography created opportunities and constraints within which communities made their historical choices. The Niger Delta and Benue rivers highway of history. Few geographical features have influenced Nigerian history as profound as the Niger and Benue rivers. The Niger River cut through a large part of the country before reaching the Atlantic through the Niger Delta. The Benue joined the river at Lokoja, creating an important geographical junction. If you look at the Nigerian map, you see this Y. That's why the River Niger, River Benue, they're linked to the Atlantic Ocean. That is the Y there. It's not just Y, it's the River Niger, River Benue, and that was the conference where they meet at Lokoja. They provide waters for human consumption, fertile agricultural land, fish and other aquatic resources, transportation routes, opportunities for trade, communication between communities, natural boundaries in some circumstances. River valleys encouraged settlement because water was essential to agricultural society. At the same time, waterways connected communities that might otherwise have been separated by difficult terrain. The Niger-Benue system therefore contributed to the movement of people, goods, ideas, and cultural practices. It is no accident that important settlement developed around river corridors. Now, the northern savanna and the rise of urban communities. Northern Nigeria possesses extensive savanna environment, gradually becoming drier toward the Sahel. The savanna supported agriculture and livestock production, while its relatively open landscape facilitated movement across large distances. This geographical environment contributed to the emergence and expansion of important urban and political centers. The Hausa city states, including Kano, Katsina, Zazzau, Gombe, and others, developed within an environment that supported agricultural production and long-distance commerce. The openness of the northern landscape also facilitated connection with regions beyond present-day Nigeria. Through trans-Sahara trade route, northern communities became connected to North Africa and wider Islamic world. Merchants transported commodities such as leather, goods, textile, kola nut, salt, and other products across long distances. Consequently, geography helped transform northern Nigeria into an important zone of commercial and cultural exchange. The Sahara and the importance of trade. The Sahara may appear to be a barrier, but historically, it was also a bridge between civilization. Although traveling across the desert was difficult, established caravan route connected West Africa with North Africa. The availability of horses and knowledge of desert route made long-distance commerce possible. This trade brought not only goods, but also ideas, technologies, and religious influences. Islam, for example, spread gradually through commercial and intellectual network into parts of West Africa. Northern Nigerian society subsequently developed strong connection with Islamic scholarship. Thus, the geographical position of Northern Nigeria placed its communities within wider African network long before European colonial rule. The forest zone and agricultural communities. Southern Nigeria contains extensive forest zones, although the character of the vegetation varies considerably from the rainforest belt to derived savanna and other ecological zones. The forest environment provides resources such as timber, fruit, nut, medicinal plant, wildlife, fertile land for agriculture. Communities develop agricultural systems suited to the environment. Crops such as yam, cassava, plantain, and other food crops became important in different parts of southern Nigeria. The forest also affected settlement patterns. Dense vegetation could make large-scale movement more difficult than in open savanna areas. Consequently, some communities develop settlement patterns that differ significantly from those found in northern urban centers. The environment, therefore, influenced not only economic activities but also social organization. Now we start from the Yoruba region, its environment, agriculture, and its urban civilization. The Yoruba-speaking region demonstrated the relationship between geography and complex political development. The area contains a mixture of forest and savanna environment, providing opportunities for agriculture and settlement. Agriculture productivity supported population growth and helped sustain large political centers. Cities such as Ife and Oyo became important centers of political, cultural, and economic life. The emergence of powerful political institutions cannot be explained by geography alone. Leadership, military, organization, technology, trade, religion, and social institutions are also crucial. However, the environment provides the agriculture and geographical foundation upon which this institution could develop. Like we have said, history has been reintroduced into Nigerian school curriculum, and that is why we are painstakingly going through all this we are doing, so that we all can know where we are coming from, so that we can know where we are, and we can know where, if possible, how to make amends. Because as it is now, the Nigerian system is not how it used to be before, and that is why the issue of unity and diversity is being threatened to a very large extent, particularly among the Gen Zs, due to politics, ethnic sentiment, religiosity. Just to mention but a few. And that is why we are painstakingly going through all these readings, making us to have a better understanding of where we are coming from. We did not just drop from the sky. We did not just evaporate from the line. No, we came from a particular place, and that's why we are trying to make everybody understand or have a better knowledge of what we're talking about. Benin and the forest environment. The historical development of the Benin Kingdom also illustrates the interaction between environment and political organization. The forest environment provided agricultural resources and materials that supported a growing population. Benin location allowed it to participate in regional trade network, while its political center developed sophisticated system of administration, craft production, and artistic expression. The famous Benin bronze and other artistic traditions demonstrate that environmental resources were transformed through human skills and technology into objects of extraordinary cultural value. Geography supply materials, human ingenuity transformed them into civilization. The Niger Delta geography creates a different way of life. Perhaps nowhere is the influence of geography more than dramatic than in the Niger Delta. The region is characterized by river, creeks, mangrove, forest, wetland, and coastal waterways. For those of you that doesn't mix up what is called Niger Delta, Niger Delta is characterized by rivers, creeks, mangrove, forest, wetland, and coastal waters. You can see now that virtually the entire place is water packed. If there's no coastal water there, there will be mangrove there. Even the mangrove forest, not just any mangrove forest, wetland, rivers, creeks. These conditions shaped settlement, transportation, occupation, and political organization. For many Niger Delta communities, the waterways were their roads. Fishing became an important economic activity. For many Niger Delta communities, the waterways were their roads. Fishing became like when we have normal road here in northern Nigeria and maybe in some southern Nigeria. But in Niger Delta, waterways are their road. So it simply means that if you want to construct road now, the amount you spend in constructing road in northern Nigeria or maybe in southern Nigeria or southern Nigeria is completely different from the amount you spend constructing road in Niger Delta. That all they have there is creek, waterways, mangrove, rivers, and just name it. Fishing became an important economic activity because of the water location. Canoes provided transportation, while rivers and creeks connected settlement. You can see it now. The delta location also encouraged extensive trade. Before colonial rule, communities in the region participated in coastal and inland commerce. Later, European merchants became increasingly interested in the region because of its commercial possibilities. The same geography that supported fishing and trade eventually became central to Nigerian petroleum economy. I say that again. The same geography that supported fishing and trade eventually became central to Nigerian petroleum economy. When it comes to the issue of petrol in Nigeria, that is a different topic entirely. Let's continue. Today, Nigeria Delta demonstrates one of its most complicated relationships between geography and development. A region can possess enormous natural wealth while its people simultaneously experience environmental and developmental challenges. Say that again. Today, the Niger Delta demonstrates one of the most complicated relationships between geography and development. A region can possess enormous natural wealth while its people simultaneously experience environmental and developmental challenges. Like I told you, when it comes to the issue of Niger Delta, it's a different story entirely. It's a complete topic on its own. Like I said, we are treating history on this program. We will still come back to all this. The Atlantic coast and the external connections. Nigerian's coastline connected its community to the wider Atlantic world. Coastal geography facilitated maritime commerce and brought increasing contact with European traders from the 15th century onward. This interaction transformed coastal societies and eventually affected communities far beyond the coastline. Trade initially involved commodities such as pepper, ivory, and other goods. The Atlantic slave trade later had devastating consequences for numerous African societies. The coastal, therefore, became a doorway through which both economic opportunities and destructive. I'll tell that again. The coastal, therefore, became a doorway through which both economic opportunities and destructive external forces enter West African history. Geography opened the door, but human institutions and historical choices determined what came through it. Mountain, hills, and natural barriers. Nigerian hills and mountains also influenced settlement and interaction. The Jos Plateau, for example, provided a distinctive ecological environment that supported particular agricultural practices and attracted different communities over time. Other island areas provided natural defensive advantage and influenced settlement pattern. Natural barriers could slow migration and communication sometimes, helping communities maintain distinct cultural identities, but barriers were rarely absolute. People developed technologies, paths, trade networks, and social relationships that enable them to cross difficult terrain. This reminds us that geography influenced human history without completely controlling it. I tell that again. This reminds us that geography influences human history without completely controlling it. Climate and the agricultural calendar. Climate has always been fundamental to Nigerian community life. The country experienced considerable variation in rainfall. The southern region generally receives more rainfall than the northern areas, while the far north experiences longer dry season. This difference influences agricultural system. Farmers develop planting and harvesting practices situated to local rainfall patterns. Communities also develop food culture based partly on what the environment could support. In northern communities, livestock production became particularly important in many areas. In the Western South, crop cultivation and forest resources played major role. I think that again. In northern communities, livestock production became particularly important in many areas, while in the Western South, crop cultivation and forest resources played major role. I think the question that should come to our mind now is this, because like I said, this is issue that we are tracing. How come that it now appears that in northern Nigeria are not the one producing food for the country? Say for instance, they now plant pepper in the desert, they now plant tomato, watermelon, cucumber. It is as a result of deliberate intention of their leaders to actually improve agriculture, and that's why they embarked on irrigation. That is why it's appeared that they are producing more food to the Nigerian system than we in the south that is even blessed with wetlands. Anyway, geography and pastoralism. Northern Nigeria grassland and seasonal weather so support pastoral communities. Pastoralism requires mobility because livestock needed grazing land and water. This created a pattern of seasonal movement and interaction between pastoralists and farming communities. Historically, these relationships were not always characterized by conflict. There were also arrangements involving trade, cooperation, and exchange. However, competition over land and water could generate tension, particularly when environmental pressure increased. And that is why we find ourselves where we are today. If you should look at the pastoralists, that is the herders, they will tell you that their cow needs to drink water, needs to feed. Then now the cow will now be flogged from northern Nigeria to southern Nigeria. And they will now come down here and begin to feed their cow with our own plants. Because we want to make money at the expense of my own source of livelihood. You see, like I said, Nigerian history is one of the most interesting history you can read in the world, to the best of my understanding. To the best of my understanding. But like I said, this is a program that's going to take us a very long period of time, and it's going to be, in fact, fun packed. Let me share with you. However, competition over land and water could generate tension, particularly when environmental pressure increase. Climate change and what have you has contributed, and that is why we had the issue of terrorism, banditry, kidnapping. This singular paragraph has generated serious problem in the Nigerian system. But how did we get here? It's because of leadership. When we have leaders that are not intentional to bring about a positive change, to put in place necessary, it's amazing. But like I said, we have a long ride to go. When it comes to this of Nigeria, we will have to treat it from, you can imagine where we're coming from, where we are now, and where we are still going. And this is just a surface crashing. You've not gone into the in-depth analysis of Nigerian history. But this particular paragraph actually caught my attention because it's the major problem we are having now It didn't just start now. One thing led to the other. Modern conflict, overgrazing route, farmland, water resources, therefore, have geographically and historically dimensions that cannot be ignored. Like I can say that again. However, competition over land and water could generate tension, particularly when environmental pressure increase. And I said modern conflict, overgrazing route, farmland, and water resources have therefore geographically and historically dimensions that cannot be ignored. Well, you have a long way to go, particularly when it comes to the issue of how geography shaped the Nigerian communities. Geography shaped us to where we are at the moment. This issue of banditry, this issue of kidnapping is as a result of geography, locations. How are we able to annex the resources there? Even the Niger Delta, the issue of the militancy and Niger Delta, geography caused it. I had a terrible experience. Anyway, like I said, our time is fast spent today. Nigerian history is one of the most interesting topic, or one of the most interesting discussion, one of the most interesting conversation anybody can, should I say, vote his or her time to